Hey guys, I want to take a look at a track called Drums of War today, and this one is anything that you need which is kind of more kind of inspired by Far Eastern kind of stuff, kind of ninja-esque things. I'm thinking the Great Wall movie from a few years ago, Matt Damon, or Last Samurai, or yeah, anything that's kind of you need that kind of slight Oriental kind of quality, something a bit more tribal, sort of like think barbarians. That's not a subjective statement. That's just the kind of thing that Hollywood evokes with this kind of track. Anyway, and also I'm going to cover just a couple of little extra things that you can do in the timeline, and just to make clear how to use Filmstro. All right, let's get going. So I'm in the web app, I've got Drums of War loaded up. As you can see, obviously it's got the hero template selected by default, and there's already a couple of things in here, so we can see the momentum changes after a couple of blocks here, and then the momentum changes again at the end of section 2, leading into section 3 here. If I just tab with my number 2 to the depth, I can see what the depth is doing. I can see that it's going to get quite dark for section 2 here, or the beginning of section 2. And then in terms of power, just tapping number 3 on my keyboard to look at power, I can see there's basically a gradual build-up, which then persists until the end of the track, which is here, at the end of section 3 there. So one of the things I wanted to show you is that if you have an idea about how you want to start a piece of music, then the simplest thing to do is just put your playhead into the very first block here, switch on snap and latch, and then just go ahead and make changes immediately in there. It helps if you select that block. So there we go. So for example, that now has just set the start of the track and how you want the whole track to kind of be or whatever. That's quite a quick way to get going if you're happy to work with basically a blank, or at least with a starting template. So if that was me, I might actually start completely blank, so I'll pop everything into the sort of start position and start with the really kind of basic thing. Undo works in Filmstro. I feel like there's something we need to improve here, because every now and again it'll be a little bit haphazard and not quite as I expect, and there's a slight difference between using the buttons and then using Command Z or whatever it is on Windows. So yeah, that's something we're going to be sorting out. And then the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about is a ramp. But before I do that, let's have a little listen to this track. I'll just do the first little bit, perhaps until we get to the first power change, and then oh, actually, yeah, look, it hasn't removed all this stuff yet, so I need to keep going with the undo. There we go. Right, perfect. Let's have a quick listen. I'll undo snap and latch. It won't make a difference to playback, but if you have snap on, then you won't actually see the slider move gradually either. You actually just, the color underneath on the slider itself will move, but the actual handle then kind of snaps when it changes. So by virtue of the template having very clear settings in the middle level of the timeline, sort of at the 50% mark, shows you that this is what's called a full track. So there's music, specific music that was written for the momentum being at half position, which is distinctly different to when the momentum is at the maximum position, and distinctly different to when the momentum is at the minimum position. So this kind of giving you that kind of just like stolid tense kind of build up, kind of preparing for battle kind of vibe. And you can hear there's some kind of wood blocks being used, which are typically from that neck of the woods in terms of the more oriental feel, and here the faster wood blocks, and also some metallic percussion, which really lends itself to this kind of more kind of ninja-y, all out fighting on rooftops or whatever. So oh yeah, and that woodwind as well is not a traditional European woodwind. That's something, I forget what it is. It's probably a zoo, I think it's called. Cool, lovely track. So what I'm going to do now is just show you a ramp, actually, because that's something I don't think I've spoken about much before. So to create a ramp, you basically select the blocks that you want the ramp to affect, and then so here I've chosen this one as my first one, which is momentum at middle. Oh yeah, and of course the ramp affects whatever momentum, whatever parameter you're on at the time, right? So I'm choosing to create a momentum ramp, for example. I've selected 3 blocks, and the last block, as you can see, goes up to this high point here. But the ramp it's an interesting feature where it calculates it. I'm just going to click out and take a look at this last block. And so highlighting this block, I can actually see that the slider for this block is actually set at the mid position, which basically means that it's only at the end of this block that the slider is coming out to meet the position at this block. And you can see now I've highlighted this block 3-1. If I zoom in a little bit, you can see that indeed this block has got a slider position of maximum for momentum, right? So let's just see what the behavior for the ramp is. So if I select this one and then shift select this one, that's these 3. And if I now hit ramp, let's see what happens. So it does do it because the ramp is basically interpolating the first point of your leftmost block that you've selected, and then it's going to the last point of the last block. So by virtue of, even though, let's undo this, even though when we looked at this block, it actually indicated that it was a mid momentum position, which is the same as this one. So effectively you might have thought, oh, maybe the ramp won't do anything, but actually you can use your eyes and you can just use the visual information. So because this is up high, hitting the ramp here will just interpolate and create a nice even linear transition throughout those 3 blocks. Now, the one thing to then show you is if we were instead though to have gone, say, from here, not to this one, but to the next one, now what's going to happen is it's going to take from here again, same thing, it's going to take the first point, so that's going to be mid-position momentum, but it's going to run it all the way along to the end of this one, which again is a high point. So you'll basically see all of this disappear. Let's just check that out. Yeah, exactly. So that's basically how that works. It's a tiny bit different on the reverse. So let's just do a momentum one, for example. Let's say I delete these 2, clear those down. And now let's do a ramp where we want to go from high power all the way down to low power. Now if I'm going to just try it here, I'm going to select from here, I'm going to select all the way along to a low point. And now if I hit ramp, I'll be completely honest with you, I still need to get this straight in my mind. I believe what it's going to do now, it's going to take the first position in section block 3-2, so this high point, and I think it's going to run it all the way down straight to the end of there. Let's have a look. Yeah, fine, perfect. Yeah, that's it. I think, I don't know why I struggle with that sometimes, but yeah, it's just that's basically how the ramps work. So whatever you highlight, it then takes the first point and the very, very last point. And again, if it doesn't quite do what you're expecting, I mean, let us know. Definitely interested in your feedback because we want to make all these things as good as they can be. But yeah, I hope this is useful. And until next time, happy editing.